Hello guys, welcome to StudyIQ. I'm Prashant Mauni. The date today is 24th September 2017 and yes, the day is Sunday. I hope you all are enjoying your weekend. Right, with this dear friends, let's see what we have got in the Sunday's The Hindu. But before moving ahead, let me share something positive with all of you. Now you might have heard about this thing that what we are is basically a sum total of our habits, isn't it? And here you can see a picture of basically a man standing with crossed arms. You can give it a try to this thing that say for example, if you have a habit of folding your arms or crossing your arms, if your right arm is on top of your left one, and if this is your normal habit, and if you want to like and give it a try, then if you change it, then you will find that it would be a bit uncomfortable, isn't it? Now this applies to our studies as well, and how it applies and what is the positive thing. See, I do deliver this lecture in Hindi as well for the Hindi students, right? For the students who prefer Hindi language. Normally it is provided by another faculty of StudyIQ, but the good thing that I observed is that they are affiliated with the Hindi faculty Veer sir for the longest period of time, and it has become a part of their habit as well. But when I started providing this lecture in Hindi on Sundays, then they have embraced this lecture with both their arms. This indicates their curiosity, isn't it? It is their curiosity which has helped them to change this small habit on Sunday. So this is something I thought I should share with all of you, and basically they are your colleagues, or many of them would be your friends as well. So this is a good side of all of them. That does not mean that you people are not having good qualities. Of course you all are, because the way you have accepted this on Sunday as well, that itself indicates that you guys are curious enough as well. And personally I believe that curiosity is the biggest boon that we can get. It is the biggest vardhan, because curiosity can not only help you with your studies, but it will help you throughout your life as well. And one day when you will sit down and when you will think about, then you will find that it is the curiosity through which I have whatever I know today is all because of curiosity. So hats off to curiosity of all of you. Moving on to dear friends, Navratri offer. Now StudyIQ has been providing you 30% discount, and this is valid only till 29th September, till this Navratri season is on, and it is about pen drive and tablet courses. So if you don't have pen drive and tablet courses that are been designed by one of the best faculties of our country, and if you don't have them, then I would recommend all of you to get it as soon as possible and make the maximum out of this pen drive courses and Navratri offer as well. If you have any further queries, feel free to give us a call on this number, or you can check out our StudyIQ.com website as well. Now, United Nations Security Council and United Nations General Assembly, these are the two big topics that are around since last many days, because we know that this thing is going on in New York, and the world has gathered together. World has basically come here in New York to participate in this United Nations General Assembly. Last night or yesterday, Sushma Swaraj, who is the Foreign Minister or Minister of External Affairs, she addressed the United Nations General Assembly. Here, dear friends, I would like to highlight here that you may think that it is the Foreign Minister, but in fact she is not only representing her government, she is not only representing her party or government, she is representing the whole of our nation. She is basically, when she is talking, when she is speaking something on this platform, then it is the India that is speaking here. Now, just before her speech, the Prime Minister of Pakistan also came out with his own speech, and in his speech he was he basically condemned India. He blamed India and Afghanistan for all the troubles that are going on in Pakistan, which is very funny as well, isn't it? Because the whole world knows, we know it very well, that why Pakistan is in this situation. In fact, India has earlier on termed Pakistan as Terroristan, and I think that is a right word as well, because Pakistan has been working or is engaged in this sort of nefarious activities for the longest period of time. We have been telling them for the longest time. In fact, the world has been pressurizing Pakistan to get rid of all this terrorist support and using terrorists as a sort of state activities, right? Basically Pakistan government supporting and funding and providing a sort of safe havens in Pakistan, which is going to be detrimental for not only Pakistan but for the other parts of the world as well, particularly for India. And they have also raised the question of Kashmir on this platform, which is absolutely not acceptable by India. Now, what Sushma Swaraj ji has said, she spoke for 22 minutes and she delivered her speech in Hindi. The other thing is that she said that Pakistan on the other side is engaged in fighting with us, or is taking or using the tools of like terrorism and other things, and at the same time India is fighting against poverty, right? She said that we are completely engaged in fighting poverty. This is a big statement, and this is true as well. The thing with poverty is, basically imagine yourself that you have to carry, if you have to travel from point A to point B, and if you have to walk between this distance, right, between these two destinations, then on one side you can go without carrying anything, and on the other side I can give you, say for example, 50 or 60 kilo of luggage. Of course you will find it more comfortable when you don't have to tow this luggage on your head, isn't it? Same thing applies to poverty as well. When we want to develop our country, and if we are having huge amount of population who are under poverty, then it is a big sort of drag for our nation. And poverty is something that who would like to sleep hungry in the night, right? Tell me, who would like to not wear good clothes and get access to medical facilities and education and other things, isn't it? And poverty basically refrains people from enjoying the full potential of human life. It impacts other areas as well, but I'm sure this example will help you understand, and you can use your own understanding and you will realize that poverty is a big drag and a big burden on a country like our India. The other thing is that she said she has talked about the radical route. Radical basically not means terrorism here. Radical is also used that sudden changes, right? When you take something when things are going on normal level, but suddenly you change the way you work, and that is also called a radical route. So she has highlighted the radical route taken by India in fighting poverty, and one statement that I think would be helpful for you in your mains examination for your understanding of India is that poverty is, she said, that the poor are not helpless. We have merely denied them opportunity. This is true. If you want someone to get rid of poverty, then of course you have to create a sort of environment, or you have to provide them opportunity through which they will strive themselves and they will come out of poverty. So we have to provide opportunity. If you deny opportunity, then you are giving a green signal to poverty. This is basically, that's what it means. The other thing that she talked about is she talked about Jan Dhan Yojana, and I'm sure we have discussed about this, and you would be knowing as well that financial inclusion is important. Imagine a condition of a sort of small trader or a laborer, right? Say for example, a laborer is from Uttar Pradesh or Bihar. If he's migrating to Bangalore or Gujarat or Mumbai to find work, and when he earns, say for example, 5,000 rupees, if he has saved that much 5,000 rupees and now he wants to send it back to the family who is living in Bihar or Uttar Pradesh, for example, then he has to, earlier before this Jan Dhan Yojana, they were not able to open accounts because of the way things were required, or the documents that were required, etc., etc. So they were not able to have this access to banks, so they have to send this money back in cash. Now many times they have to pay, most of the times of course, they have to pay some sort of commission. So if they are sending 5,000 rupees in cash to their family, then they have to pay somewhere around 200-300 rupees. Now this is a big amount for a people who is working as a labor, isn't it? The second thing is, many times they find that the people who are engaged in this sort of transferring money, they will say that we have lost this money because there was a loot in the train, etc., etc., and then they find that the whole money is gone or taken away by someone. But with the inclusion of these people with Jan Dhan Yojana and with banking system, what happened is that now they have access to bank. The other thing is their money can be kept safe. They can have ATM cards, and the small traders can also utilize the benefit of 5,000 rupees overdraft facility. So they don't have to beg for money for a short-term period to private money lenders who charge a huge amount of interest rate on this short-term loans, and this vicious cycle of poverty we can end this vicious cycle of poverty, with including people with Jan Dhan. So this is a small example. Same thing goes with Mudra as well. Loan up to 50,000, then from 50,000 to 5 lakh and 5 lakh to 10 lakh rupees. This sort of loans can help them a lot, and this will create more jobs in bottom level or on the ground level, and this will help the whole economy to grow. Ujjwala Yojana, we have talked about it in yesterday's PIB, but again I would like to provide a couple of points for those students who are not up to date with the PIB news provided by StudyIQ. So Ujjwala is basically providing LPG connection, right? LPG connection to poor households. Now, cooking food on chulas, right? The traditional stoves. If you are cooking on this thing using wood and cow dung and other things, then it will damage cooking for, say for example, 4 hours or 5 hours. The smoke coming out of it would be equivalent to 20 packets of cigarettes. That is somewhere around 400 cigarettes. Imagine. So you can imagine the impact of this thing on the health of the woman, and this is going to add more medical bills, and it is going to be detrimental for the family as well in the longer term. So he also talked about GST. So these are the things that India has talked about at this platform, United Nations General Assembly. Then she reminded Pakistan about Simla Agreement and Lahore Declaration. Now the Pakistan does not want this Kashmir issue to be out of mind of global communities. So that is the reason, like whenever they find any sort of chance to speak, they talk about Kashmir. So in this sense they can keep this issue alive. Now, as per Simla Agreement that was agreed by both India and Pakistan, and as per Lahore Declaration, we have clearly stated, and both nations agree, that this issue of Kashmir is pertaining to only these two countries, and there is no place for any third party, may it be United Nations or China or USA or whatever, whoever it may be. There is no place of third party. Then as well they are talking about Kashmir at United Nations General Assembly. Sushma ji also reminded about comprehensive bilateral dialogue. She said that it was your Prime Minister in 2015 who came out with this proposal. We accepted it because it was for peace, but you are not tabbing the terrorism activities and terrorists, and that is the reason we have stopped talking with you guys. She also told that United Nations should come out with a definition of terrorism, because if you don't define your enemies, then how can you eliminate them? Moving on to another item, Japan to fund mass rapid transit system in Gujarat and Haryana. Now 100 from funds from a Japanese government loan will soon be utilized for the first time in 100 billion Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor. Now this is a small map here. Of course you don't find this sort of maps in newspapers, but I would like to add some more things on it, and I'm sure this will help you in understanding this sort of projects in much more detailed fashion. Now first thing, imagine you know that these places, right, like Haryana, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, these are all landlocked areas, isn't it? They don't have access to ocean. But with the implementation of this Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor, when new roads and new railway lines will be laid in this part, and when these two places will be connected, Delhi and Mumbai, then not only domestic transportation of goods and services will improve, of course people as well, but these areas, this Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, if they want to import something from out of India, then they would have access to sea from here, and if they want to export something, then as well they would be able to do it, because now they are directly connected with Mumbai. So this is the thing, and you can imagine that once this project is completed, then you will find many railway stations, and in railway stations we know that there are many small traders engaged. Apart from that, construction business will go up since this project is on. So there are many benefits of this thing. And the other thing is that Japan is providing a soft loan. Now what soft loan is all about? Basically soft loan means that the interest rates are very low. It is very low, and it is at 0.1%, which is very reasonable. Repayment period is also very long. You have 40 years to pay it back, and you also get 10 years grace period. Grace period means you don't have to pay any sort of interest in this point of time. Your interest basically starts from after 10 years. You have to start paying your interest and things like that. So this is the thing, and there is a agency in Japan. It is known as Japan International Cooperation Agency, which is basically engaged in doing all this sort of promoting economic development and welfare in developing countries. So Japan is a very good friend of ours, and we know that the way we help, the appreciation which India gets when it helps Nepal, Bangladesh, or Sri Lanka or Myanmar, in the same way Japan also manages to win our heart and mind, or they can have a soft corner in our mind, in our heart, when they are helping India with this sort of projects. So this is the thing. And in Gujarat as well, we have a Gujarat MRTS. This is going to connect this Ahmedabad and Dholera, and through this this part of the world, this part of India, basically this part of Gujarat, is going to benefit a lot, because Ahmedabad is a big center. Moving on, Haryana is going to have Manesar Pawal International Investment Region in DMIC, and these are going to be the same thing, right? When infrastructure develops, so all the benefits that you can see here will be coming to this part and parts of Haryana as well. So it's very easy to understand. Help yourself with all these small details that I have provided. Another item is pertaining to Finance Ministry, and this is Arvind Subramanian. Now I'm sure you might have heard about him. I'm sure you have seen him as well. He's the Chief Economic Advisor of our country. Now of course, from the name itself you can deduce that Chief Economic Advisor means if the government wants any sort of advice on economic matters, then he is the chief man. He's the man to go to. So that's why this post is created, and basically his 3-year tenure was going to end on 16th October, but now government has persuaded him to stay back and continue to work for the Indian government for 1 more year. So his tenure has been extended for 1 year. The other thing is that the good thing, or the positive side, or his capabilities, if I may say, then Arvind Subramanian was the person behind the idea of JAM Trinity. JAM stands for Jantan, Aadhaar and Mobile. He's the person who came out with the idea of bad banks to sort out the persistent problems of this non-performing assets, and he's the man behind the concept of universal basic income. Universal basic income means rather than providing subsidies on many different items, how about if we give money in the hands of the citizens, and in this way they can decide what they want and what they don't want, rather than providing subsidies on gas or other things, etc., etc., right? So this is basically universal basic income. We will talk about this thing in detail whenever we have this thing in detail, but at present we are focusing on this item of Arvind Subramanian. Now, as I told you that he is the main person for advice, and remember that he works under Finance Ministry, right? He works under, there is an office under Finance Ministry in which you find Chief Economic Advisor's office. And one more thing, one of his main responsibility includes producing economic survey every year. I'm sure you might have been heard about it, or you would be reading it as well whenever this is launched, because this is important for civil services preparation. So economic survey is signed and launched by Arvind Subramanian, or Chief Economic Advisor of India. Another item is pertaining to kids, and this is coming from Satyarthi, Kailash Satyarthi. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for the work that he has done in providing good environment for children. Basically, he has worked for children, for the betterment of children, and it was this reason that he was provided Nobel Prize. The other thing is he has started a campaign called Bharat Yatra, and basically this is about it is about enlightening or persuading the parliament to come out with stringent laws against human trafficking, including child trafficking. He said that he will keep on fighting against rape, sexual abuse and child trafficking, and he is hoping that with the help of this Bharat Yatra campaign he'll be able to make India a safe nation, or a safe place for children again. Now this something similar, and it is regarding child mortality. This report is basically produced by Lancet. Lancet is a very reputed journal, a medical journal basically, and most of the time you find this Lancet reports in the Hindu newspaper, and I must say that they have a considerable reputation around the world. So most of the time you can rely on the figures that are being provided by Lancet. Now what it is about, it is saying that child mortality on decline, right? So basically we know the issue of child mortality. India is a big victim of child mortality, and in this years, from 2000 to 2015, in this 15 years, we have managed to slow down this child mortality. But when we talk about the other items, when we talk about this premature deaths, then the figure is not that good. I'm not going to take you through all this small figures. You can help yourself with it, as you know that you would be able to download this lecture. But what I am going to discuss with you guys here is that, see, basically in our country, 40%, right, 40% of children in our country are mentally and physically stunted. Now, why they are stunted? Because of many reasons, and one of them is they do not get enough medical facility, they do not get enough nutrition or nourishment, and this is the reason why they are stunted, or they are going through malnutrition and other diseases. Remember, this is a disease that we are talking about, right? And this is something that we can easily prevent. When I say easily, I means that there are proven methods. All we have to do is implement them. If we don't have medicine for something, then it is tough to manage that disease. But when you know how you can cure it, and then as well if we are lagging it, then there is something called management that is missing, isn't it? So 40% of our children, now connect this thing with our future development. These children are going to be the future of our nation. They are going to stand at the same place where we are at present, isn't it? And imagine that if out of 1 year, if nearly 30 or 20% of the time, if you are not feeling well, if you cannot grasp what has been discussed in school, college, or on StudyIQ, then you can imagine it is going to be difficult for you to get a good career, isn't it? So in the same way, if 40% are facing this sort of problem, then the whole country as well would be in the same thing. Nearly 50%, you can say that 50% of our country, if it is stunted, then we won't be able to call ourselves a superpower or global power. Our military would be weak as well, our economy as well. We would be spending more. When I say spending, I mean rather than investing on human resources and other things, we would be expending. We would be trying to cure these diseases. The money which we can utilize for other things, for other research and development programs, would be spent in this area, because we would have this much of our stunted kids. So this is the thing, and this is the big picture of the negative side of this mortality, and the main root cause are sanitation and lack of nourishment, or health and education. Everything gets affected with it. India has of course not able to achieve the Millennium Development Goal, which were again set up by United Nations. The last date was 2015. We have already missed it, but never mind. There are some good examples of India, and particularly some states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra. They have done very good in terms of this mortality rate, and the Lancet report says that if other states would have followed the steps taken by Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Maharashtra, then we would be in a much better place, and India would have been able to achieve this 2015 Millennium Development Goals as well. Now we have to achieve, or we are trying to achieve, this 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Basically there are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and we have to achieve it by 2030. Again, it is decided by United Nations, and India is trying its level best, and hopefully the way we are going at present, I'm sure that we would be able to achieve this target as well. So this is the thing, and that's everything about it. Other details, I'm sure you will go through it. Now let's go to another item, and that is about Prime Minister. He was addressing people during his tour to his constituency, that is Varanasi, and in this address, Prime Minister talked about Pashudhan Arogya Mela. Pashudhan basically means animal health, right? Domesticated animals. He is talking about cow, goats, sheep and buffaloes and other items, other animals, right? And other domesticated animals. Now of course this domestic animals, or this animal husbandry, is pertaining, or it has a close relation or affiliated with farming. Now the target of India is the main target for which the government is trying to achieve is basically we want to double the income of our farmer by 2022. How we can do it? We can do it with the help of animal husbandry. It is one of the way. We have talked about sweet revolution, we have talked about white revolution, we have talked about sericulture, fishiculture. These are all things I'm sure you know about it, isn't it? And these things literally help as well. to the farmers to achieve this thing. I'll give you a small example of Gujarat. Now we know recently that this thing was in news. Basically there are many articles and editorials written on this item of Gujarat, and we know this year Gujarat, some parts of Gujarat were underwater because of extremely heavy rainfall that took place in Gujarat. Now there is an area in Gujarat called Banaskantha, and this Banaskantha area, the average income of family from milk, not average but some families, you have some families that they earn around 15,000 rupees per month from milk production, and there are some families as well, they earn 2 lakh rupees per month from milk production. Can you imagine the wealth that they are generating from animal or you can say from milk production? Now if you take the average of income of a farmer in India, right, then it is somewhere between 3,000 to 5,000 rupees per month. Can you imagine? Just 3,000 to 5,000 rupees per month. It is nothing, isn't it? They are not going to survive with this thing. But if they can make some money out of, say for example, another 10,000 rupees, then they would earn something around 12,000 rupees or 13 or 15,000 rupees roughly speaking per month. Now this is a sort of a good amount. Through this amount they would be able to survive, isn't it? Because the food items are looked after, the milk they are producing, so they are not going to spend after milk. They don't have to spend after milk production. Their children will get enough nutrition, etc., etc. And they are of course producing food and other items, vegetables and other things, so these expenses are reduced. And if they are earning this, if they are making 15,000 rupees per month or somewhere around 12,000 to 15,000, then you can say that it would be a good life for them. So in this way we can end the poverty as well. The thing that we are talking in United Nations General Assembly, it has direct relation with what we are doing at ground level. So animal husbandry is a big thing, and when you have Pashudhan Arogya Mela, basically if you are providing veterinary facilities to these animals or the people who are engaged in this animal husbandry business, then they have to spend less. Their health of their cattle will be good and they will be more productive, in sense they would be able to make more money, and we would be able to achieve this target. In the same way the rural economy will get a kick as well, isn't it? So it is basically, when Prime Minister is saying that it is going to be a new economic revolution, then we can think that yes, it can be a new economic revolution. The other thing he talked about or he appreciated is the way the state, the Uttar Pradesh state has provided a name called Izzat Ghar, basically means room of honor, to toilets, and this is very good. I am really touched, or I personally feel that this is a very creative way of naming this toilets, Izzat Ghar, because we know it is not the resources, it is the mentality that we have to change. And going to toilet is not something, it is not a sort of shameful activity. It is of course it is a good activity. It is a sort of a good habit to use toilets rather than defecating in open and spreading diseases all around. Mattis to meet Modi and Nirmala. Mattis is Secretary of Defense. Jim Mattis is going to arrive in India and he is going to meet Nirmala Sitharaman, who is a counterpart of this Secretary of Defense, because Nirmala Sitharaman ji is Minister of Defense of India, isn't it? And he's, of course, whenever you find any ministers coming to India, then of course they will try to meet Prime Minister and President as well. Now this USA basically has appreciated India's role. They have said that we are valued and influential partner with broad mutual interests extending well beyond South Asia. What is South Asia all about? I will show you in a minute. But apart from that, he also said that the country of USA appreciates India's role or contribution towards Afghanistan, particularly in democracy. You know, we have built the parliament, stability, prosperity. We are investing in Afghanistan and trying to create more economic opportunities over there. We are training their security forces. The role played by India for Afghanistan is appreciated around the world by USA and other countries as well. He also talked about, he highlighted UPSC. It is a military exercise. I'm sure you know all about it because I have provided you a question on this thing, and most of the answers that I have received, I may say that 95% of answers that I got were up to the mark. So hats off to all of you guys. This indicates that you are taking active part in all these discussions and you are basically contributing as well. So keep it up. Again, hats off. Moving on, this is South Asia, right? You have 8 countries here, and whenever we talk about South Asia, then I'm sure a group that pops up in our mind is SAARC. SAARC stands for South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation, isn't it? Now these countries are here. You can see I provided names of all of them: Afghanistan, Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. These are the 8 countries that form, or they are part of, South Asia. When I say South Asia, friends, you should be crystal clear. It should be crystal clear in your mind where South Asia is. When you read or hear a term called West Asia, then you should know which part of the world we are talking about, or which part of Asia we are talking about. When someone says Central Asia, Southeast Asia, West Asia, or West Asia already said, East Asia or North Asia, then these are the things. Central Asia, it should be crystal clear in your mind, and this can be done. You don't have to do any sort of rocket scientific experiments. It is very simple. All you have to do is spend some time after the maps or pictures that are provided to you on this platform. And if you want to add some more values, what you can do is take out a map of Asia from your Atlas book and then try to see this thing from different angles. Observe the capitals of all these countries, then see which are the countries that are landlocked, see which countries have access to ocean or sea, etc., etc. Right? So in this way you would be able to add more value on this thing. See if Tropic of Cancer is passing from it, see if equator is passing, or if there are any other important latitudes that are passing from it. And this way you would learn many things from maps itself, and you will know many more things about geopolitics and geography in the same way. Moving on to another item. This is basically a study. This study is done by World Nuclear Industry Status Report, and it is saying that India is 3rd in nuclear power installation. Last night in PIB we have talked about this thing about nuclear power in detail. So you know, I'm sure you know much about this thing. Not last night, but it was on Friday evening we have talked about this thing. I'm sure all of you who are connected with PIB analysis, so you know most of the things about nuclear and where we stand at present. But for the new listeners, I would like to say that China is quite ahead of us. We are ranking 3rd here, and the way the other overall it has been observed that the plants, this nuclear power plants, are declining, and it is 53 by mid 2017, whilst in 2013 it was 68 new reactors were there in many countries. Like say for example, after Fukushima incident, Japan has decided to get rid of all these nuclear power plants. And one of the reason is not because it is more dangerous. The thing is, Japan has been using this nuclear energy for the longest period of time, and so most of their power plants were out of date. When I say out of date, they are not as latest as the Kudamkulam power plant that we have in Tamil Nadu, which is built with the help of Russia, right? They are not that much advanced because of course there is a gap of 30-40 years. Germany is another country that is shutting down, or most of these nuclear power plants are off at present in Germany, because it is not because of safety, it is more because their uranium resources have been exhausted. So these are different reasons, but for a country like India we need more of them, because we have to make our country more energy secure, and we are going to have vehicles, electric vehicles. We are going to have more companies coming here, so we have to provide 24/7 power to the whole nation, and then and only we would be able to discuss these things on YouTube platform. If you don't have electricity, then you can understand that we won't be doing this thing. E-health facilities, e-education, governance, e-governance, all these things are relied on safe and ample supply of electricity, and for that we have to utilize all different resources. The other reason why this nuclear power plants are falling down is because of other substitute sources, like wind power production has gone up, solar has gone up, so these are other reasons as well. This is a small nuclear mining map here, and let's connect India with it. Now Mongolia, in 2014 when Prime Minister visited Mongolia, at that point of time we signed MOUs, and we are going to get uranium from Mongolia, because India does not have that much amount of uranium as a stock or resource, so we are importing it from other countries. Australia is more than happy to supply it to us. Kazakhstan. Then a couple of days ago, Canadian delegate was in India, and they have discussed, they have appreciated India's plan and things in this area. United States, Westinghouse is building or is about to build plants in Andhra Pradesh. Then we have other countries as well, like say for example Namibia, when President Pranab Mukherjee, when he visited, former President Pranab Mukherjee, when visited Namibia, at that point of time we had MOUs with this country as well. Last item, and with this we will end this discussion, and this is about Indian monsoon, how it impacts a particular butterfly known as milkweed butterflies. Now you'll be thinking like, why I'm discussing this sort of things on this the Hindu analysis lecture? We should be talking about UPSC and other competitive exams. And let me tell you that if you go through the past papers, then you will find that you'd be more than happy that this sort of questions, at least one question, you'll find in your prelims examination. And most of the time these things are just ignored by us. We don't give enough attention to this thing, and when we find this sort of questions in the exam, then we think that we come out with a misconception that UPSC exams or UPSC is asking anything, isn't it? It is not like that. They ask you some things, particularly this sort of things, either it is very important or something unusual is taking place. Here the milkweed butterflies, what it does, you know that we have two different basically the main monsoon season is southwest, right? So this is southern part of India, this is your Sri Lanka, so I hope this is a bit clear. So the winds coming from south and western side, this is our west part of course, so winds coming here will bring waters, will bring rainfall to the nation, and this is known as southwest monsoon. So what happens during southwest monsoon time? This they are living here somewhere in Western Ghats, so they will migrate from here and they will go to eastern part. Now eastern part, this part, some parts of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, they get rainfall in northeast through northeast rainfalls, and northeast basically means winds coming from this point of time. Normally when country is going through the winter season, at that point of time this part of the world, or this part of our country, gets sort of rainy season. So in this part, when it is wet, at that point of time they travel from this part to this part, and when in the winter time when the rain is coming from this part, they again go back to Western Ghats. So they are basically it's like a pendulum, right? They are moving from this side to this side. They are just doing that, and this is how they have adopted this region, or this is how they have adopted life. So this is unique, I guess, and keep this in mind. It is milkweed butterfly. This is a picture for you guys, and I have some questions for you as well. This last one is basically a sort of descriptive one. You don't have to write lengthy essays. All you have to do is 5-6 main points, and that would be enough. And it's a good thing that rather than just MCQs are entertainment, right? It is fun to provide answers of MCQs, no doubt, but this sort of things we can make it fun as well. And if you start from today, then you will see that after a couple of months you'd be shining in this thing as well. Do not forget to get the maximum out of this pen drive courses, and don't let this date hit, right? 29 September is not far, so do it ASAP. With this, don't forget to download this lecture, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share this lecture with your friends and family. If you have learned something from this lecture, then don't forget to give us your like as well, and do participate in question and answer session. I'm more than happy for your critical and constructive criticism, right? But please do not make this platform a platform of hate speech. I'm sure most of you, right, when I say most, I'm talking about 99 of you are preparing for civil services, and you are up to it. Best of luck for all of you, right? Utilize this platform to make it as interactive as possible. With this, I hope you enjoy your Sunday. I hope your studies are going well. I'll see you all tomorrow. Till then, Jai Hind.